All right, so I wrote this a few weeks ago, um, and I waited a little while to record it. So people were bringing some things up. So I decided, you know what, I should make a video saying, what does Rabbi Yosef believe? So we're going to read this now that I wrote a few weeks ago. Between the lines, staying true in a fragmented Jewish world. I did not begin my Jewish journey in Orthodoxy. Like many people, I came in through the door that was open. For me, that was conservative Judaism almost 20 years ago. Later, I became Orthodox. Eventually, I received smicha, two of them, in fact, rabbinic ordination, and I continued to learn and grow. And I want to talk to you today about what that journey has revealed to me along the way. Because what I found as I went deeper wasn't just Torah, it wasn't just law or tradition or even community. I found conflict, not just between denominations, but within them. I found contradictions, brilliance, blindness, and I began to ask a question that I think, in fact, I know many of you have asked because you've asked me, which is where do I belong when the labels no longer fit? At first, I had the impression, like many do, that the more orthodox something is, the more correct it must be. More observant, more authentic, more committed. But I learned that observance without comprehension is not holiness. I saw that blind obedience can become a kind of idolatry, where halakha is no longer about truth or justice, but about conformity, popularity, and in some cases, control. In the Orthodox world, I encountered something painful, a culture that often values silence over sincere questioning, obedience over understanding, not always, but often. And there's very little room to openly admit error, to discuss divergent but valid opinions, or to accept that some traditions are not halakhically binding, even when they have serious consequences. Brit Milah, for example, there are some times where there's a hygienic step in it done with the mouth. For example, it's an ancient custom, but it's not a halakhic requirement. Yet it's treated with more gravity than actual Torah commandments. A woman must not put on man's apparel, nor shall a man wear a woman's clothing, for whoever does these things is abhorrent to the Lord your God. This is a literal Torah commandment. Yet every year on Purim, we see male rabbis wearing a woman's dress. Meanwhile, public violations of Shabbat are overlooked in practice as long as the person is a member of a community. Not just overlooked, but the transgressors are honored in front of the whole community with an aliyah. The first one of his last name is Cohen, while converts are not counted in a minyan at all for lesser offenses. That's not tolerance, that's hypocrisy. It's not consistent, it's not coherent, and it's not just. And yet, and this is critical, the same criticism must be applied in the conservative world as well. While I respect conservative Judaism, what it was intended to be, many conservative synagogues today are practically indistinguishable from Reform ones in terms of halakhic observance. They may claim to follow halakha, but in practice, Torah commandments are treated as optional. That's not halakhic evolution, that's erosion. I believe in a system where Torah commandments are non negotiable. I believe halakha as a binding framework, flexible, yes, with boundaries. I believe in a rational, structured approach to law, like the one laid out in Rambam, Hilchot Mamrim, which tell us how halakha actually functions and explains where the Torah is authorizing this. The idea that we are bound not by popular vote or communal consensus, but by the decisions of a halakhically authorized Sanhedrin or established halakhic authority. That's what keeps the system honest. And yet, even here, I find myself in tension. I don't live in Israel. And according to Rambam, living in Israel is not a Torah obligation. A view that makes more sense to me than that of Ramban, who saw it as a mitzvah but didn't fulfill it for most of his own life. That paradox that you can declare a mitzvah binding and then ignore it for practical reasons reveals the slipperiness of how many people treat mitzvot. Once you make that move, you've opened the door to say that either anything can be a mitzvah or nothing can. What I'm saying is we have to stop pretending that the system is functioning when it's not. when halakhic authority is determined by popularity or community pressure or charisma, fear of losing donors, we're no longer in the realm of Torah, we're in politics. So, where does that leave someone like me, and maybe someone like you? I believe I live in the space between Orthodox and conservative Judaism, not a conservadox. That term has never really meant much, never took off. I'm not trying to start a new movement, but I'm not going to ignore that there's something broken in all of the existing ones. I'm a modern Orthodox rabbi who falls short in some areas, but I admit where I fall short rather than pretending that my shortcomings are secretly halakhic innovations. I believe in teshuvah, striving, but that doesn't mean I change the rules so I can call myself righteous. I'd rather be flawed and honest than perfect in fantasy. I believe in community, but I also believe that what we call community today is not always real. If we've replaced connection with conformity or Torah with tradition for tradition's sake, we're not really building community, we're reinforcing a caste system. There are those who say you have to be part of a shul, but I don't think that's Torah. There is no Torah commandment to attend a synagogue. The idea that Judaism only happens in a building led by a certain kind of rabbi, subscribed to a certain kind of ideology, that's not the world of the Talmud. That's not the world of the Sanhedrin. That's not the Judaism that nurtures souls. And so I say, yes, I am in the system. I am a rabbi. I am a Jew. I teach, I guide, I study, and I also struggle. But I do not accept that I must shut my mouth to belong. I do not accept that I must tell my students to pick between flawed systems that are unwilling to look inward. And I will not participate in the bullying or the posturing that passes for Mizora today. I will not pretend that I don't notice double standards or legal fictions. I believe Judaism needs repair, but not with cynicism, with hope, with humility, and with honesty. If that becomes at the cost of making you unpopular. This is not about replacing Torah, it's about returning to it. It's not about dismissing tradition, it's about discerning what is binding from what is beautiful, what is harmful from what is sacred. We need a Judaism where halakha is coherent, where disagreement is respected, where community doesn't require conformity, and where truth is not measured by tribal loyalty. And that's why I'm still here, still teaching, still learning, still believing, because I think something better is possible, and I pretend and I refuse to pretend otherwise. So if this is something that you agree with and identify with, then you have an invitation. You're welcome to join me and help me try and fix what we can together, not by inventing something new, but returning to what Judaism has historically always been for most of our history. It kind of got a little sidetracked recently in history and has taken a turn, and that's fine for some. But I think we should return to a authentic, rationalist, halakhic form of Judaism that Rambam practiced, that much of the Jewish world has practiced for thousands of years. So that is what Rabbi Yosef believes. And if you agree, welcome to wherever it is I'm going. If you disagree, that's okay too.